looking at the AOs here, be in a good position to cover everything. But whew. Don, if you're in chat, can you also make the next prediction? Otherwise, I'll have to tab out and make that. That's perfectly fine. But Blue 4 is starting up in Baghdad Khan, and Op 4 has the entire southern area here between a temple, an open sector, and a little bit of a fire base there. So we'll see how things go.
Anything south of the river is an Indian country, and it's hot in the bra.
Maz, who is a mission maker in FNF, wants me to tell you thanks for adding an interior to the Hanoi train station for him.
Well, Horrible Hog is in the chat, and his brother, Horrible Goat, is the guy who made that interior and, in fact, the whole building, so you can thank him.
Are they brothers?
Yes, they are. Actually, they're both from Finland. They love their saunas, and they built a little secret sauna somewhere on Camlo now.
That is awesome. I had no idea the two were related, because I see Horrible Hog in my chat all the time. And I'm like, oh, like, I know this other guy named Horrible Goat. I love his stuff, but I don't want to say anything because I don't want to be rude. But I didn't realize they were that. The more you know. Oh, that's awesome.
Tuomala brothers, you know, and let's face it, it's been said many times that, you know, Germans make the best officers and Finns make the best soldiers. And working with a team of Finns is just a dream come true because these guys are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Temper made the Kaysan terrain for us single-handed. You know, it took a team of over 10 guys to build Camlo Nam.
Right.
And then Temper, the Finn, comes in and just builds an entire 10 by 10 terrain on his own in about 6 months.
That's nuts.
These Finns are just incredible.
I have massive respect for anyone that can work Bulldozer because it's just such a painful program, to be perfectly honest. Like, I love Deformer as an end run around it because that I can work for days. I'm not sure if you saw the big Vietnam mission I did a month ago for the guys, but I literally deformed a big chunk of Asia Valley to make the Battle of Apgu actually realistic to the terrain based off of the imagery I was given, and that was really fun to just carve out half of the damn ridge on the western flank. But good God, I've seen Bulldozer. I tried Bulldozer. I can't stand it. So I have massive respect for map developers that are able to do all of that. But the round has begun. I'm going to go ahead and look over everything. So we got those SPMs, those sit-down 7.62 machine guns. We got the Type 63 mortar back there. And then most of the infantry have spawned around Sector 2, and they have a teleport pull down in the form of this flag, probably to make it out to the other sectors. I saw an Op 4 guy all the way up here. Oh, so they have a random, they've got a bunch of random positions they can teleport to that can give them scouting. We got another SPM over here as well. Very interesting. So we got all these random sight lines looking over at the other sector. Sector 3 appears to be an underground area as well. And we have the super secret US Bulldozer under here. I love that texture.
Yep.
And then we've got Sector 1, which is this temple area. And it looks like it's just on a hill, so we might see some fortifications dug around it. And then Sector 2 is their spawn. Did you want to say something?
Well, when we designed that bulldozer, we obviously took the BI bulldozer and just reskinned it.
Right.
But our plan in the original design document for the game was to turn that into a tracked vehicle that actually works and deforms terrain. And we never got there. And I'm really sad about it. We never got there. One day, we will make a working bulldozer that you can literally bulldoze stuff.
So I got to ask, will that be for SOG Prairie Fire? Will that be something coming up for the quote-unquote Arma 4 transition?
Well, there's something between then. So Arma 4 is a long way away.
Right.
And so, yes, we would like to come back and do some sort of expansion for Arma 4 or something, depending on how BI see it.
Of course.
But in the meantime, there's going to be 4 or 5 years. So
Oh, yeah.
we can't just sit around just working on this DLC for 4 or 5 years. It's not going to work.
Hmm.
So our plan is to make a new game in Unreal 5 with all the assets we have and all the stories we have. Bring that into Unreal 5 so you can all enjoy that for the next, in 2 or 3 years' time. That will come out. Arma 4 will come out, and then we'll come back across and rework on Arma 4. In the meantime, the assets we make for the new game, we will essentially backport into the DLC. So that's our plan, to keep the DLC alive for the next few years.
Right. So based off of that, I would assume you don't have any plans for Reforger.
No.
Gotcha.
No, Reforger isn't ready.
Yeah,
and by the time
I agree
it
with
was
that
ready,
100%. Yeah.
By the time it was ready, Arma 4 would be ready for us. We need like all the simulation you have in Arma 3, and Arma 3 is a decade old.
Yeah.
So we can't do. We can't work with Reforger just because of the state of the engine.
Right. Well, I know with what they've given with Reforger, they've at least claimed that they've released all the tools they use to practically make the game, and those are allegedly going to be the same tools utilized for Arma 4, but I know one of the main strategies Bohemia's done in by releasing Reforger is to let a lot of mod developers get an early start to porting all their stuff over, so by the time Arma 4 comes around, all of that is ready to go, because I think Bohemia understands that, they can make a decent base game, but it's all about the platform. It's people like you and the CDLCs and modders in the community that really bring everyone here. So I was just curious what your thoughts for all of that were.
Well, creative DLCs are one thing, but the modding community is enormous, and
Very.
And so Reforger creates a situation where people from the modding community who get tired of Arma 3 can move to Reforger, and that's the purpose of Reforger.
Exactly.
Reforger has never been designed for creative DLCs. That's not the plan.
Right.
As far as I understand it. So we're not planning to migrate to a Reforger because it just isn't designed for us.
Exactly.
Because what we need is a stable, fully simulated engine. We can't do a SOG campaign if we can't have AI flying helicopters, for example.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of things we need before we can move to it, and they're not, I don't think they're ever going to be there in Reforger, but you never know. You can never say never.
Based on my own predictions, I think, again, they're just going to build Reforger up until it'll eventually become Arma 4. But beyond that, it's just shrouded in mystery.
No, that's not how it's going to work.
That's not? Okay.
No. Reforger is not Arma 4. Reforger is a tool set.
Right.
And it's a showcase. It's not early access Arma 4. That has never been BI's plan. That is still not BI's plan. It never will be BI's plan.
Gotcha.
When Arma 4 comes out, it'll be a different game that you buy. It will have its own content, and and it'll be like Arma 3 when it came out, where we all started playing it and went, "Oh my god, this is so different to Arma 2. It's amazing." And then typically, like for me, I made the first evolution multiplayer game mode in Arma 3.
Right.
It was the biggest used game mode right from the beginning. It was the highest downloaded mission, and I was using porta potties for mash tents because they didn't have the assets. So my feeling is that if everybody's already built all this stuff in Reforger as mods, they can immediately port it across into Arma 4, and that gives you a huge amount of content right from the get-go. And so BI is being quite canny about it.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
All right, with 8 minutes left, I'm going to go ahead over the mission now. Let's see. This one's made by Malin, Shock and Lightning. Notes: Blue 4 will have access to call in... a daisy cutter to clear an area for a helicopter landing. It must be called in at least 3 minutes before safe start ends. The bomb will be dropped on safe start end. Before dropping red smokes, will designate the target area. The bomb must be called on areas of jungle and not on buildings or objectives. That's a cool way they've scripted in that fire support system.
Oh yeah, and the blue 82 will blow a big hole in the foliage.
Mm-hmm. And then on a scripting standpoint, it hides an area around it, which basically negates all of the foliage and whatnot. It's a really cool script. I absolutely love that. I remember, I don't know if it was me talking to you, but it was me talking to a few of the guys in the SOG team, and I said I would love to see that actually create LZs. And then an update happened like a month or two later, and then I randomly used it and I saw stuff clear out, and I'm like, oh my god, it actually happened. Like, that's such it's such a useful tool that you would think in most scenarios, how would I put it? Like, it's one of those little details in Arma that, again, you could never really imagine until you get into a situation where you need it, but once you have it, it's just so great. Instead of trying to find an LZ, you can just make your own and get out of a mission.
I'm going to do a leak here. So
here we go.
Prick up your ears, because I've had a few beers, and because we're getting close to the end of our release and everything. So I kind of don't care anymore. We've proved ourselves. We've proved what we can deliver. We've proved that we don't lie to the public and the players. We've proved that when we say we're going to do something, we always do it.
Yep.
So on that basis, I'm going to leak that we are bringing out a plane that can deliver the Blue 82.
Oh, that's going to be awesome. Because I know Unsun has a model for it. It doesn't have the ability to do it, though, because that was back before such a system existed. So I got a lot of follow-up questions for that, but I do need to get over the round. But I have an idea of where you're going with that. Oh, that makes me giddy and excited for future Vietnam missions to run, because that'll give me an additional task for air to work on. But anyway, going over everything, how Ad Sector works, guys, is the attacker faction's infantry need to get into the sector zone itself. Once there is a number advantage on the attacker side in the zone compared to the defenders, say, for example, no one's in the sector, a single attacker gets in there, it'll start counting down the sector. If there's 2 defenders in the sector but 3 attackers enter there, it'll start counting down the sector. The timer for the countdown is, I believe, 60 seconds. If at any point the attackers lose the number advantage in the sector, the timer stops and is reset upon the attackers gaining the number advantage again, if they ever do. Once the timer successfully completely counts down, the sector is captured and the defenders can no longer take the sector. The attackers win when all of the sectors are taken. The defenders win if they are able to keep at least one sector. And of course, if you wipe your opponent, then you win. But regardless, with that, for this mission, we already went over the 3 sectors. So I'm going to go ahead and look over the other details here. So view distance here is going to be a click and a half, which is good for both air and for AA, because, in the jungles, you don't need that much for render distance. Defender build points are 125, which is your standard number between Ace Fortify into making defensive lines. I'd be curious what they're using for their Fortify script. I'll probably take a mission file apart later and look, because, for most of their missions, they have the same exact list, but for Vietnam, they've probably themed it with Vietnam assets. Because I know when you have the E-tool from Ace, you're able to dig foxholes, for example. So maybe they added some custom stuff, maybe not, but hey, that's my own curiosity. Matte settings for Blue 4 is just another M72 Law, but for Op 4 they have a Strela, and that's going to basically be dedicated on shooting down the Blue 4 Cobra. Otherwise, looking at Blue 4's uniforms, you have basically Mac V kits here. Loadout's going to be M16A1s or M14s, or if they want to be Chads, they can bring a trench gun, because those are always fun. 1911s as a secondary. M2 carbines as their support weapon for the quote-unquote light machine gunners. That's an interesting choice, but I also as a balancing choice. We'll see what Op 4's is in a second. But the M2 carbine, is that 20 or 30 round magazines? I think 30.
M2's 30, yeah, and it's full auto capable.
Yeah, so that's why they have that there, because that's their quote-unquote light machine gun they can utilize. But the M60 is going to be given to Delta for the medium machine guns. And then light anti-tank's going to be the M72 Law. Crew and aviation get the grease gun. Nothing on crew served weapons. Assets, we've got the Apris Cobra here. Malin, who is the de facto head honcho of EU right now for FNF, has confirmed it's 14 flechette rockets and the chin strap gun, which has 2,000 rounds. Otherwise, they have two UH-1D Iroquois, each with 1,200 rounds total across 6 belts on either door gun. They've got some transport trucks and some M2 M113 transports. That is quite nice to see. Otherwise, OPFOR, they've got your standard PAVN kits here. Their loadouts are going to be SKSs, Type 56s, M49/56s, or ISH double-barrel shotguns, TT-33s as their secondary. Their light machine gun is going to be the K50 again with the drum mags. PKs for their Delta group. Light anti-tank is going to be the B41. Crew and aviation get the MAT-49 submachine gun. Their assets include a quad AA gun under the ZPU-4, 2 anti-air Dishkas, 1 low sitting down Dishka with the shield, 3 SGM 762x39 statics with 250 round boxes, and then the Type 63 60mm mortar with 16 HE rounds, 4 Willie Pete rounds, and 32 illumination rounds. Interesting. But the Willie Pete, I'm going to love to see that. But yeah, no, OPFOR gets a mortar. Blue 4 gets air support. I think that's a pretty good balance. FNF, as of recent, has really doubled down on adding autocannons and really powerful assets on both sides to kind of change the game up. They've been really heavy on balance and trying to balance things as much as they can over the past few years, but this has been a very welcome change because there's so many other communities out there that play with those heavy assets, and now FNF is starting to join the reins there. But we got the Quad AA guarding Sector 2 right here, and it's got some really nice open area to do it, but it's also not in a position to outright shred infantry for a balancing concern. So a great choice by Malin in the placement of that asset right there. And we've got Blue 4 mainly defending around Sector 3 and Sector 2, not giving much attention to Sector 1, and they've also set up a defensive line over at this far left side, which not sure 100% how this is going to go because Blue 4 have a few other routes to get into this AO. And I'm never really an advocate for any defending faction to stick to one of the various routes unless they can virtually guarantee that that route is going to be utilized. Say there's only 1 or 2 ways into their AO, but I mean, this one you see that as soon as Blue 4 crosses this one position, that is some artillery going off. That's the Blue 82.
There you go. That's the Blue 82. It looks like a nuke.
Very nice explosion there, but that is to create an LZ right next to Sector 2. Little worrisome, though, because you got the AA gun right next to that puppy. So Blue 4 might be in for a tough time, but look at that crater. It was also right on top of a hill, too, so... Whew. But that's a nice clearing that's been made for that LZ.
Oh,
we'll see how things go.
It does the job. Yeah, it does
Definitely.
the job. And you know, during the Vietnam War, there was a known mole in the Arvin hierarchy, and they were given the coordinates of every SOG insertion.
Right.
So when the SOG guys landed, whole teams would disappear, and they knew that something was up.
Right.
So what they did was they basically gave their coordinates, and then they passed the coordinates to the Air Force and got them to drop a Blue 82 on the LZ before they landed. And when they landed, they found that there was confetti of body parts and bits of AK-47 and
everything,
pith helmets and everything all over the place. So the Blue 82, the Blue 82 is a legendary weapon in SOG because they used it to counter the spies and the bad guys who were stitching them up. Interesting bit of history.
I've got an op idea involving what you just said as well, but we'll see that in a few months. But regardless, Blue 4 have started moving out. Their helicopters are doing a very far landing on the eastern side of the AO. They're going to have quite a bit of jungle to trek, but the other half of the force is moving between Delta and Bravo in command, 2 transport trucks and 2 M2 M113s. So Blue 4 starting off a bit fractured. I think they're going to try to regroup and take Sector 1 and 2 first. You can hear them honk. That was a very long-range honk there. I'm about 500 meters in the air, and I heard that plain as day. Good God. That startled me for a second, though. Back to Dennis's sounds there, but I believe these guys are going to regroup somewhere around point 38 here and potentially go and take Sector 1, maybe even hit Sector 2, but that Blue 82 was definitely there to give OPFOR the false impression that they'll be doing some sort of rush strategy to get right on top of that objective, and you kind of see its results with some OPFOR getting on top of these rock formations here and setting up to try to prevent any false landings around where the Blue 82 landed, so that's quite nice.
Yeah, you have to love Razorback's terrain design on the Bra, because he made Dekrong, he made Dung, the two best maps in Unsung, to be fair, and he's just such a. He worked on Kamla Nam quite a lot. It was him that introduced me to the history of SOG, like originally. He knew John Plaster. He introduced me to this stuff. When he got a chance to make his own map like this, just look, this is the beautiful thing you see. It is a great map.
That is quite amazing.
And everything south of the Bra is fucked up. It's this is the NVA's base area 316. Anyone that sets foot in this gets killed. Comes home in a bag if you even get extracted. So it's tough terrain to fight in. And north of the Bra, the way we designed it is like that's where you've got the villages. That's where you've got the fake US base that we added, because that was never there.
Right.
But actually anywhere around this area of the river, because this was a big part of the connection between the Ho Chi Minh Trail and the infiltration route through the A Shell Valley.
Right.
And everything coming along that river valley, along the Bra. It was getting bombed and shelled and like constantly, and if you landed a team in there, they're going to be hunting your ass right from the get-go.
Right.
So we designed the terrain like that. It is nasty Indian terrain. There's so much stuff hidden underground. There's so many like places for OPFOR to hide.
Remember when you mentioned the previous AO, the fake LZ landings?
Yeah.
Blue Force pulling one off right now, and you got Mark here on OPFOR with an SKS scope. He's looking at where they potentially landed. He might be able to see that there's nothing that got off those helicopters, though. But they literally just landed on a PAVN fortification and then immediately dusted off. So that might make OPFOR think they're coming from the south, but I really love the PSYOP game here with Blue 4 and these two SOG helicopters here, but now they're just going to dust the entirety of the AO and see if they can bait OPFOR to engage them. Look at them flying right over now where this AA gun is.
And they're on it now, so now they know where the ZPU is.
Yep, and that's a great thing to know, because where Blue 4 is, they stand to be in a decent position to flank it. The one thing I'm worried about with Blue 4 right now, similar to the previous round, is they are taking quite a bit of time to do their maneuvering. You've got the two squads that were landed far out that still have another kilometer to go, and then the stuff on the north has been deployed, starting to move on to Sector 1 as I predicted. Based off of where we're seeing forces deploy, it looks like the northern group's going to go for Sector 1, the southern group's going to go for the rightmost edge of Sector 2, but now that they know the ZPU is right there, they can easily put a squad over there and flank it. But 44 minutes, only 6 minutes in, Blue 4 is making a good chunk of maneuvering, and giving Blue 4 credit where credit's due. Where they landed, they're already a click away from on the bottom right for us, so another 6 minutes they'll get in. I think they should be able to make it this time around, simply because OPFOR also has a lot of forces out of position, again, defending certain SSRs into this AO. That, it's just one of various routes that Blue 4 could take, and since they're so far out, maybe we'll see OPFOR come around and potentially flank some Blue 4 elements coming in, but it's a toss-up whether or not OPFOR will even move those forces in. And with this being such a big area, whichever force can properly get their forces into the AO first is going to succeed. And I've seen plenty of FNF rounds where the defenders really space themselves out too far, and aren't able to rally their forces back, and then the attackers just slide right in, take the objectives, and only deal with like a third of the enemy because 2/3 were out and about in really bad positions. But Op4 otherwise has some really nasty spots. You can see Sector 3, for example. Look at how they've fortified the internal in here. This was all empty when we checked earlier, but they've made some very nasty CQC spots to overwatch these elements, from bunkers to little planks of wood. This was all with their own fortifications that I was talking about, that 125 build points thing earlier, and they even fortified around the bulldozer. So they're just gonna wait out right here. They even have one of those SPMs ready to shred anyone that is unfortunate enough to run in there.
It will shoot through wood, yeah. The SGM, it looks like it can't shoot over, but it can shoot through.
These are nasty keyholes that they've set up. This is going to be one hell of an AO to fight in. And with the bunkers here, if there's any threat of grenades, they can just go prone in these bunkers and more than likely survive. All 3 SPMs are in here, actually. That is nuts.
Yeah, they really want to hold this cave. I mean, we designed this cave as a multi-position truck park. That's why it was designed. It was based on a real situation.
And what would that real situation be, since I think we have a second as Blue 4 maneuvers?
Sure. Well, it was based on a real cave in Laos where the MVA could park whole truck convoys, you know, and keep them out of the sight of the US Air Force during the day. I wanted to build some kind of cave that represented that, and Wax Butter, who's one of our amazing artists, an absolutely amazing guy, I hired him because all the work he did on the original Head in the Pacific mod.
Right.
And I was working on Unsung, and I went through all of his content, and I couldn't believe how much he created. It was literally hundreds and hundreds of models. So I went to him. I just went to him and said, "We need you on the team." And he said, "Really? Really? You take me?" And I'm like, "Man, we couldn't do this without you, you know." And so anyway, one of the things he did for us was he created and designed all the caves, because he'd done all of that stuff for Hell in the Pacific before, based on the Japanese caves, you know, on Saipan and Okinawa, and you know, and that was kind of part of his knowledge. So that's what you see there. When you go into those caves, they were designed by Wax, you know, and Wax just has a real natural gift for understanding a little bit of the CQB kind of stuff that you want to see inside buildings.
That's amazing.
It's really easy to build a building that's just like any old building, but what we do is we try and build things that are proper CQB, interesting buildings, and you know, same with the caves. So when you try and CQB inside one of those, you kind of realize you're in a level. This is like level design. And that's, you know, that has always been our plan, is not just to build something that looks historically real, or build something that, you know, just ticks a box. It has to be something that when you're fighting in it, it creates excitement.
Right. So a quick update on the AO. We've got some elements of Bravo starting to move on to Sector 1. We're about to see a prompt as Artisan enters the AO. There it is. So everyone is now alerted that the attackers are on Sector 1. This is going to cause Op4, who has an element to the north, to start moving down. They might run into Lurch, who's on his own, as the rest of Delta has moved a bit further south. You can also hear that 113 moving by, and I know Op4 also hears it, so they might be moving over and bypassing the Blue 4 element in between them to go and hit that 113, because the range of it, you can hear that thing like 500 meters out. It's very loud.
Yeah, and if you've got an 83 grenade or an RPG, that thing is toast.
So I never did a call out on the sides of infantry, just to really quickly do that. Steve is commanding Op4. You've got Scandi Recon on Op4, Depso and Timac commanding Blue 4, and you've got Papega on Blue 4, if I recall correctly. And a lot of those Blue 4 players are around Sector 1 right now, so they're Sector 1 captured. You already see, you already see Blue 4 starting to move south, but Op 4 Bravo have a pretty nice fortified defense line on this ridge, and they are starting to exchange shots. Swola took a hit, I think, by the PFC over here, Hanma. And now you're going to start seeing shots going back and forth. But Op 4 were just on all these defensive lines, and they've pulled back. I just heard the mortar fire. That is Charlotte on it, a.k.a. Slushy. And I'd be curious if they're going to put rounds on top of that sector. I'm also really curious that as soon as that sector didn't start getting taken, they didn't put Willie Pete on top of it immediately, because I feel like they would have cooked out quite a bit of blue for, but I guess they're just going to hold it out on reserve. You hear more rounds firing. That is the Willie Pete, but it's going very far, at least 400 meters off. But now you got Blue 4 taking that Op 4 Charlie on the rear. They did catch up to him, and now you've got this very close CQC fight. Now, this is Blue 4 Delta, so they're going to have the M60s. And they're fighting right with Scandi Recon, who are going to quickly envelop them. But Norris stops one of the envelopers there and gets a nice kill. Was that on Veteran? Yep. Op 4 move. Yeah, go ahead.
That's right. So what a shame, because Veteran obviously designed and built and implemented SOG Prairie Fire campaign. So he's the guy you blame every time your team gets stomped when you're trying to do one of the missions.
Right. Got that. We got the quad AA engaging the Hueys as it distracts them. I did hear one of the Hueys take a hit, but otherwise they're still going active. So yeah, we'll see if Norris continues the flank around. He got a second kill, actually, and now he's doing the flank around here on Op 4. But Blue 4, otherwise, I mean, you got a full down, team down right here between Holt, Harna, and Harrington, taken out by Scandi players here. But now you've got Hunt coming up, running right in the middle of the smoke, and he's spotted multiple Op 4 guys, but is unable to drop any of them as he runs in, gets his handgun out, tries to throw a grenade, and is immediately taken out. But that grenade doesn't get any kills because it got caught in the jungle tree. That's got caught in the deep roots. Damn.
Yeah, he kind of he might as well have just climbed over a barrel and pulled his trousers down.
Yeah. One of the Op 4 guys just got shot to shit right here. I'm trying to figure out who did that, because I don't see any Blue 4 around anymore, but that...
Yeah, the nade would have worked. Yeah, just picking up on what they're saying. Like, you don't... Like, in all of jungle fighting, you never, ever take on a firing squad with a pistol.
Yeah, well, he was out of ammo, I think, at that point, but...
What you do is you have a firing squad take on, you know, a lone guy or a couple of guys. Mm-hmm. If you're in a situation where you're the guy on his own, you go stealth and use grenades, and you run away a lot.
And my chat's bringing that up too. Like, why didn't he open up with the grenade first? And one of my moderators is saying hindsight is 2020, which I agree with, but I do try to emphasize whenever you have the drop on somebody and there's more than one person, start with the grenade, because they're unlikely to hear that rather than an actual gunshot. And then that grenade will go off, and then you use your bullets to clean up whoever is still alive. And that's going to greatly increase your chances of survival. But by the way, we got GLs landing right on top of the ZPU position and pretty much disabling it. But this is incredibly accurate. Oh, you'll see it in a second.
Oh my God!
That was amazing.
Was that a 40 mic?
That was a 40 mic all the way from Bravo. Let's see who that was. That was Roster, who is one of the Pepega Pirates members that I was telling you about. Again, they in Scandi head and shoulders above the rest in what they are capable of, and that was incredibly accurate. You got Sam now charging in. Realizing he's charging into an US Blue 4 group he runs in.
Oh my God! Like, look at how many Red 4 are there. Blue 4, sorry, is running into them.
Yeah, it's a mess. But as I said, that Southern group was going to go for Sector 2 as the other group went for Sector 1. But looking over, Charlie for Scandi Recon is still sweeping the remainder of Blue 4 on the northern side. And I think we're just going to see more casualties mount for this northern group because Blue Force opted to do 2 different sectors, but I don't think it's going to be that much of a consequence because this is going to allow for the remainder of Blue 4 after they take Sector 2 to start moving to Sector 3. And then Scandy's just going to pursue from Op 4, but we do have Pepega and the Blue 4 element that's going to be very quickly rushing up. And now you got the Cobra coming in. It just took out one of the marksmen here, and it just used its flechette missiles to take him out. My God.
You are in an open area like that, and you've got flechettes coming in. Good luck to you.
Good luck indeed. Now you got one of the chopper gunners trying to snipe Lolo out of the gun, but the gun gets disabled by the M60 on the Huey.
Yeah, that was great tactics by Blue 4 because...
Did you see that?
Yeah,
he's got another gun! Oh no! Huey takes multiple hits.
Yeah, he's hitting the Huey.
My God! That was so funny. He's like, you may have gotten this gun, but I've got a second one in this bunker. Those are both.
What a backup plan he had.
I got this other Huey flying around the final objective to scout it out. Blue 4's gonna think this is clear. Little do they know, there's probably the nastiest trap in this AO waiting for him.
This is like the jungle caves on Okinawa or something, like, you know, against the Japanese. I mean, God help them going into that.
Oh man, but the Blue 4 element to the north that's just getting picked apart here. I feel for him. And you see the southern Blue 4 element already starting to advance, and the choppers up top are just trying to hit whatever they can. Op 4 still has their mortar in play, but you got the UH.
I love the way they're using the helicopters as a team.
Right.
So like one helicopter gets engaged. Look at the Cobra now.
Oh, he tried firing rockets into him.
Yeah.
The other gun's disabled.
Yeah. Now back in Nam, when they fired machetes at a Dushcum like that, they actually had a guy, when they went and recovered the weapon, the guy was literally pinned to the weapon like with so many flechettes through his body. He was literally welded into the weapon.
That's nuts.
And they picked the whole thing up and took it back to base, and then they just had to clean him off it so they could use it as a trophy.
Yeah. So we got Depso and Timek, the 2 elements of Blue 4 Command, now trying to push into Sector 3, but they have just realized that the fortification in here is very, very well defended. I'm a little disappointed about the size of the sector, though, because Blue 4 could just camp outside of the fortification with enough people and still take that sector. But now you got Depso pushing, the machine gun fires, Molotov thrown in, Depso on fire.
Oh, that's a Molotov.
Oh.
They're coming in the back cave as well. It's like a gangbang in the trailer, guys.
Right. Timek now trying to come around, but is immediately shot at by multiple keyholes and knocked unconscious. Mike has a dirty little keyhole on the left side with the board just above him. And then you got Nicholas right here with the SPM that was able to give follow-up shots. But Blue 4's in for a time when they start assaulting that position. Lolo, meanwhile, cowering in the bunker here as air just harasses him by destroying his 2 AA statics.
I mean, the Blue 4, I tell you what, the Blue 4 Air are winning this battle. They're doing a really, really great job. Right?
Oh, yeah.
They're flying a circuit and they're covering each other's ass. And that's how it should be done. And these guys have got some sort of experience. They know what they're doing.
Right. And it is a pleasure to see.
Oh, yes.
So you're seeing... Hold up, the artillery mortar, it's firing, but it looks like the rounds are hitting the palm tree, or they're firing just this danger close, and it's landing right on top of Blue 4. As you're seeing some of the static defense, one Op 4 just traded with Ivno, who goes knocked unconscious, but this mortar firing all these rounds CQC, but it looks like it just ran out, and now it's firing Illumination.
Oh, well, yeah, you're screwed. You're screwed at that point.
Oh, man.
once you start firing looms, you know you
Yeah, you're out of ammo at that point, but you got the gunners now firing down, but they're firing at friendlies on the outside. That's Blue 4 Command. Now you got some Op 4 coming back. They're either going to join on the internal defense or they'll set up a outside position. We just saw, let's see, that was Puma firing, but Puma just got sniped by Blue 4 who are coming in. And now that mortar is under threat.
This is an interesting game.
Oh no. I think there were more illumination rounds going because Charlotte didn't realize that she was out of ammo. Yep, more illumination landing as she got shot in the back by Blue 4 coming up. And this is Pepega now charging up and cleaning up the rest of the infantry right here. However, we got the Huey firing at friendly forces now. And a rocket just flew past this one Huey too because it's flying low and slow. It's also taking ground fire. Oh, but the Cobra's flying overhead.
Yeah, that's what you call a pink tee.
Oh, it's going to start shooting at Iander, perhaps. Also Whiplash.
But yeah, because they've only got a nose minigun probably left at this point. It does make them a lot less of a foe to worry about.
Yeah, the rockets are totally empty. They used them all on that hill to get those 2 kills, so now it's just up to the minigun.
And threat, if you've got an armored helicopter, you can spot enemies.
Yeah. Iander got taken out from it, though. They're trying to kill Whiplash now. Gosh, that must be ironic, being part of a dev team and getting harassed by one of the best assets on the ground, or in the sky in this case.
Come on, Whip, you can handle it.
We got to cheer the community manager on.
I was just in DC with him, like in the Pentagon, in the White House. You know, like he's a solid guy.
Yeah.
And we both lectured in so many times.
He does have a stolen M60, and he is doing his best to hide behind this tree.
Yeah. Oh, he's an army NCO. He knows how to.
We do have a guy right here with AT Wheaton. If that helicopter keeps staying low and slow, he could get a hit on it, but he's still in a little bit of tree cover here. It's quite the predicament.
It's a B-41 through the cockpit.
Yeah. Oh, I don't see him anymore. I think aim at the balls actually got him. I see 2 bodies up here. Yeah, so Whiplash got a minigun. We got people right under him.
One Mexican down.
Ash gets hit as well as the bullying with this continues, and I absolutely love to see it. We're only halfway through this round too. 25 minutes left on the clock out of 50.
Well, it's a good call to have the Cobra only able to be minigunning at this point because it's a nice balance. I really like to see it.
Oh, I agree. Got Olaf being chased down by King here as Olaf's trying to flank around, but King's right behind him. Oh, and Olaf gets blown away off this little rock heap here.
He certainly did.
So I'm curious. I'm going to look at the first-person look of this gun here. My God. The whole system.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I saw the comment there from General Monic about aerial superiority.
Yeah.
It's not really. When you look at like the optics they're using and you look at the weapons they're using, these guys are like a flight target. It's not easy. It really isn't.
I was about to say Blue had great PID, but I just saw him bird as at his own guys as we got ChatGPT and Flux pushing and eliminating the remaining Op 4 out here. Flux gets the double tap, but now you got Blue 4 right on top of his position, pushing the enemy.
Yeah, that optic system is a bitch to use, and it's based on real things. You know, we had real Cobra pilots advising us on how to design that. So.
Right.
You know, that's what you get when you want realism. You get realism. This thing was not an easy thing to use.
Right. Oh man, so Blue 4's doing a great job of sweeping everything around the sector before they actually push in. They want to really win this fight, though we just had Jack get a friendly kill on some other guys here. Now he's being pushed by friendlies. One of the two OP4 guys were just found and taken out. Batty put a shotgun round by Jack, but realized he was friendly. So just some more unfortunate blue on blue, but it happens.
Oh yeah. Put enough mad people with guns in a forest and you're going to get a lot of friendly casualties.
Oh yeah.
That was discovered in Vietnam, but obviously before that in the Pacific and Korea and everywhere else.
And now they're doing it again with some of the hotel crew and another member here. They really need to tell that Cobra to wave off.
Cobra needs to be more precise. Very difficult to do when you're flying around trying not to get shot. And in fact, actually, we did a podcast with Barry Pensek, who flew a Scarface. What was he? Scarface 0, 20 or some Scarface 20, yeah. And he flew with the US Marine Corps Scarface squadron, and he flew Cobras supporting that console. And we did a podcast with him, with Dick Thompson, talking about what it's like to be on the ground receiving fire support from Cobras, and what it's like to be victim to delivering the fire support. And I asked a lot of questions in that podcast about, like, how do you know, what's it like when you think you might hit the friendlies?
Right.
Some interesting.
You're gonna see that grenade just got 5 people.
Oh yeah, I see it.
We can also see where there's been a lot of keyholing here, and a lot of Blue 4 have gone down, but also OP4 on the front of their defensive lines. They're firing AT in here and getting knockouts, but there's so much Blue 4 in the sector itself that they're starting to take the zone, but...
Yeah, what wooden peaks are there, and they obviously don't have wooden peaks, you're balancing.
Right. But that's what you would use to clear that tunnel out.
Oh yeah. I put a couple of wooden peaks in there, one in the front entrance, one in the back entrance. You know, and then maybe drop a Mark 82 on it.
Right, you just saw Nemesis come around. He was on 5 kills and he got everything, but Blue 4, because they're in the actual sector with that number advantage, just managed to come in and take the sector. I kind of wish this sector was a bit smaller, but that is the end of the round. That is a Blue 4 victory. That Cobra was nuts.
Yeah, well played, and also why you played the team, because they didn't, even though they ran out, of their main rockets.
Right.
They stayed and they maintained position. They maintained an offensive position.